Hey, so a year ago, around this time, I had a weird experience that was very brief, but that further solidified my current outlook on what this experience that we're all having is. After having a pretty small microdose, is that an oxymoron? After having a small dose of a substance, I saw the Matrix, and I don't know how to quantify that exactly. I didn't open my eyes and see something different. I kind of saw a flash of something visually, but it's more like I saw it and understood it in my mind's eye, or this whole visual was removed just long enough for my brain to register what it was seeing or perceiving or whatever. I made some videos around that time, but it became really obvious to me that or in a more real way, it became clear that the visual field is in some way only being supported by thoughts, beliefs, ideas. It's like it's the visual rendering of just a bunch of energy that is only being created by ideas and stuff like that, beliefs, thoughts. And that's like a feature of this experience. It's not something that's meant to be destroyed, or it's not something that you want to stop happening, if that makes any sense. It's a feature of this experience. And this experience was something that was chosen. You didn't get here by accident, and it's not bad. It's just it's an experience that you chose to have, and that's as far as at this point I even want to go with it. You know, what's beyond that? Where did we come from to choose the experience? Is God part of this experience and not the source of this experience? You know, is like I read the book Journey of Souls, where the author does a lot of hypnotic regression on his patients and stuff like that, and they all sort of report different aspects of the same thing, which allowed him to, write this book. Just, I didn't find to be a super easy read, by the way. I'm not saying go read it or anything, but, in thinking about this experience, being essentially, for lack of a better way of putting it, a game, a question that's arisen for me is, well, is that afterlife when you exit the game? Or is the experience of death and afterlife part of the game? And honestly, I don't have a clue. Nothing about that has revealed itself to me, because I've been sitting with, for the last year, and experiencing life through the lens of more and more, this is a game. The realness of this experience is what makes it really cool, but it's not real, simply put. And it wasn't, I didn't force this experience. I just have been experiencing it that way, specifically since that day where I sort of briefly understood the Matrix or something in a more real way, not just in an intellectual way, but in a more real way. I don't have the words to describe it better than that, I guess. But what I wanted to say is that that's a major perspective shift. And it's been a very interesting, this has probably been, I think I've said this every year because this is just my experience as this continues. I think this has been the most interesting year of my life. I think it's been the most, it's the year that's lifted the most mental burdens, the greatest number of, I think, mental burdens, things that were hindering me from experiencing, my particular vantage point with more of a sense of just kind of constant wonder and less time spent feeling shitty. Basically all the upgrades to just the basic quality of life that you would want to have happen. I've been experiencing this more like over the last 5 years. It's just been sort of like, a straight upward, well, not straight. If this is my if this is my emotional stock chart for the last couple of years, it's just been on an upward trajectory. And I think it's largely from coming out of the fog of the realness of this experience. And so I wanted to talk about it because, it was just sort of micro exposure to this idea with an open mind to it, or maybe less of an open mind and more of just an inclination to, lean towards that anyway. Just thanks to my own personal life experience and wiring and all of that. It's been just an upward trajectory for me. And I just want to talk about this because it's these micro exposures to this idea and sort of trying it on here and there, having a new situation arise. I think people get so lost in the experience of living that they don't realize how many separate experiences they have every day. It's like this, this sort of beautiful, continuous experience, this illusion of time, that just flows from one moment to the next, that you don't realize that the whole thing is made up of all of these. I'm like breathless talking about this. Well, I did just go for a walk at the gym too. That could be part of it. It's just one experience leading to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. This conversation happens, this situation happens. And if in the back of your mind, you start thinking, and again, like this is so much easier for me, I think, because of my nerdy gaming experience over the last 20 years and where I was in my life and in the timeline of the digital revolution and all of that. I feel like I and many others, maybe who are watching this video, had this really unique experience of sort of experiencing a virtual world in this really real kind of way that feels very similar to life. And so in the back of your mind, if you're viewing it that way, which I have been for the last year, I've just been like, this is just like, I'm just experiencing a different version of my experience with World of Warcraft. This is so nerdy. I feel like such a dumbass every time I talk about this, but this whole last year, I just can't, I'm not even trying to think of it that way. I just can't stop seeing the parallels that this is so similar to that. You get, it's like over the last year, I found myself sort of oscillating between coming out of this experience and then getting sucked back in. And, there have been times where I've just been like, oh, I got sucked back into the drama again. Or, I don't know, I find myself over experiencing things that are happening here. And maybe judging that a little bit or trying to correct for that before I come back to remembering in a way that that's the whole point. Like, that's the whole point of this. It's this constant balancing act between getting into the experience and getting out of the experience. And as far as I know, there's no real exit from this experience. There are people out there meditating under trees, and their whole goal in life is to exit this human experience and like I was saying, I don't even know if death is the exit of this experience or if it's just moving on to a different part of the experience. If all of what we know and are aware of is the experience, including everything. But I don't think that's the point, and I don't think anybody has exited it. I don't think that that's part of it. It's figuring out how to surf the waves of it. And when you start to look at it that way, I think it changes everything from an internal standpoint. And if you're coming at all of the manifesting stuff, which is, trying to create things, which we know that you can. But in my experience, and just from observing, and from this game standpoint, it can't possibly be, the objective can't possibly be to control everything, because that ends the game. That's also incredibly boring if you think about it. If you're really honest with yourself, you're gonna, I think, be able to admit, maybe not, I don't fucking know what you're gonna be able to do. When I'm honest with myself, exiting the game is not appealing. The idea of being able to control it all is, what would be the point? There never being any drama would be so incredibly boring. I'm pretty safe, but more and more I'm trying to wrap my mind around the idea that while great physical pain and danger and all that stuff is a thing, that it doesn't matter. That's my biggest hurdle. My biggest hurdle with all of this stuff, like fully embracing the mentality that I'm talking about, is the idea, well, I've had physical pain in the last 5 years, and I've had physical pain. That's been the thing that's pulled me out the most, is when I'm actually enduring something physically that's been the biggest challenge. That's been the thing where I'm the most like, this experience is useless. I'm not getting anything positive out of this. So I'm still wrapping my mind around that one. But viewing this entire thing as a game, because I really think it has to be, changes things. It, over time, starts to chip away at a layer of this whole thing that is serving no purpose. Certain aspects of fear just go away. Importance drops away. If you read all of these, like all the big ones that people are talking about, all the books, all the authors, the big ones, reality surfing, Neville Goddard, there's a theme in there that you pick up on either because it's explicit or because it's implicit. There are themes in there that you pick up on, and one of them is the lowering of importance. Neville Goddard talks about dropping the seed. So basically you do whatever, the imaginal act or whatever he says to do, and impregnate yourself with this new state, and then you drop it. You don't keep thinking about it. You don't keep feeding it energy. And Vadim Zeland talks about lowering importance, that the more heaviness there is on something, the harder it is to manifest it. And in my own personal experience, and I've talked about that on here a million times, things seem to manifest when you take away the layer of fear. Like, I'm not going to be able to survive if I don't get this. If I don't get this, I will have failed to fulfill my purpose. If I don't get this, my life will have been meaningless. Without this, I will never be happy, or I will be happy when I get this. That's all, that's just putting way too much on this experience, on this game. If you imagine, again, I'm just like back to the World of Warcraft stuff. If you care too much about the people that you are doing stuff with in the game, it stops being fun. If you start viewing it as too real, it stops being fun. What I found really interesting is that I basically recreated my entire real life within that world. I was kind of a solo player. I didn't really love playing with other people, you know. I made a few close friends actually in the game that I still know. And I did a ton of banking and stuff there. Like my biggest, most favorite thing to do there was you know, playing with the economy and affecting the economy directly with things that I would do, and making a ton of money and being able to buy all the rare stuff that came up for sale, you know. Like it was just really funny. I don't know. That's not like too mind-blowing or anything, because of course the things I'm interested in and good at in my day-to-day would translate probably into the things that I'm interested in and good at in a game. But it just further, you know, made me real, or I don't know, maybe it was just playing the game, and which was on a scale that was just, I don't know, let's say 1/10 of real life. Maybe it was just that and my responses to that. So having sort of, you know, 10% emotional response to the 10% experience of life just made me realize, well, this makes this not fun. And when I remove this, it is fun. And then just stepping back and saying, the only difference between this and life is that I'm looking at life as though it's so much more important than this, as if it's so much more real than this, as if it matters, as if anything I do here matters, as if anything that happens with this world matters, you know. If something annihilates humanity at any point, did anything that happened here matter? And if that's the case, then can anything possibly matter right now in any kind of way that should prevent you from experiencing the peace of the moment, or hope for the future, or just experiencing something that makes you happy today? I don't know, you know, everybody is addicted to the illusion. And the interesting thing I think about this manifestation stuff and the people that come to this arena, the people who are not blinded by a need for something that they're trying to manifest, especially person. The interesting thing I think about this for all of us, which is no longer a tiny group of, you know, guys in robes chanting around a fire, doing rituals and stuff. It's mainstream now, but it's not that mainstream. What's interesting about that, I think, is it's kind of like we're early comers, or I don't know, we're at the beginning of the manifestation gold rush, essentially, early adopters of something that's starting to become more accepted. So we're the Bitcoin buyers, the current Bitcoin buyers. That's where we're all at. It's come out that it's not a flash in the pan. It's not just a crazy idea, but most people don't understand it or believe in it, or think about it or understand the impact that it's going to have on the future and all of that. Sorry to make the Bitcoin correlation, which a lot of people are probably not going to know what the fuck I'm even talking about with that. But it's interesting to be in this group of people, I think, because it's a really interesting perspective to have, and you're going to be able to see what you can do, and in a way that, you know, in 100 years, everything's going to be a lot different. There's no stopping this. There's no stopping this consciousness shift. And I think being on this, you know, sort of being part of the generating group of people is an interesting position to be in at this time. And I just wanted to talk about all that because I think it's a good idea to get exposed to some of these perspective shifts that eventually you will have. Eventually everyone will have it. It'll just be like I said, I think in a recent video, and I always think of this example. Think of all the things that people have, like the whole population has believed in the past that has changed to the point where no one believes it anymore. Like that the weather is caused by angry gods and stuff like that. I mean, the smartest people believed that at one time, and it's the same thing now. So the faster you can start dispelling the illusion, the faster you're going to be able to start doing some really cool stuff. within this game, and it's all that it is. That's all that it is. And while everyone else is going to have to be breaking their addiction to this painfully all at once, everybody's going to end up being really far behind. You right now can start to address your own like fear and over attachment to the reality of this. If manifestation is a thing, then this can't be real in the way that we've thought of it. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out because I keep thinking about it, and final thought. Think about how you're spending your time every day. You have a finite amount of time and energy in every day of this experience, and you're probably spending some of it very, very unwisely, when you could be taking advantage of all of the resources that are available to you right on your phone that you're using to watch this video, or whatever you're using to watch this video. There are resources available. You could be spending an hour of every day. If you spend an hour of every day on something, it will change your life. You could be educating yourself about history. You could be learning about how this game works. You could be doing things to improve your ability within this physical interface to be able to handle the whole thing better. How many of you are really not doing any of that? Like, how many of you are just watching stuff in sort of a desperate state of mind, trying to find some way to get, magically get out of it, when you have this huge amount of currency? Even if you're completely broke, even if you have $0, you've got time, and apparently you have access to the internet, which means you have the ability to, if you could just get past your fear and your idea that your lot in life or your current place in life or what you failed to do up to this point matters, if you could get past that sort of depression or low state that is keeping you from, accessing that feeling of excitement that would motivate you and drive you to learn something and enjoy it while you're doing it. And, if you were looking at this whole thing as a game, and you weren't down on yourself or hopeless based on, what undoubtedly is absorbing the fear of other people or taking this thing way too seriously, you'd be able to access that energy and go do something with this huge abundance of time that you likely have. I know some of you don't. Sometimes I don't have any time, but a lot of people out there have nothing but time, and don't understand how valuable that time is. If you're in a situation where you aren't working all the time, or and you're like, God damn it, I can't find a job or something, if you weren't in a state of fear, you could be spending this time on doing something that would broaden your awareness and equip you with things you don't currently have that will make this whole experience easier. All right, that's it. Have a great day. I hope that something in there was something that someone needed to hear today. And have a great day.